Rock musicians have been standing out from the crowd for half a century. I am the crowd. Hi. About 11 months ago, we talked about releasing not one but 3 new albums and how they might even be out what is now last year. That didn't happen, and we're now most of the way through this year and it still hasn't happened. So yeah, we probably need to let you know what's going on. There is a tendency, I think, in any organisation that is interested in what the public think of them. You know, from a bunch of guys in a band trying to put a good impression that shows that we firstly care about people that are listening to us and also have enough momentum that we should be taken seriously by people we want to take them seriously. You know, like a band puts out press releases to say they're the latest up-and-coming thing so that venues will book them. Then rarely the latest up-and-coming thing, but band press buyers are a whole other thing. Anyway, the point is, there is a tendency in any person, organisation in that situation to just not report anything if there isn't much to report, or if it's not going well or really smoothly. It's like, no, just hold off until there's something to actually say. And of course, after a while that adds up. Yeah, I guess that's what we've been doing in a way, but actually no, not really. No, the thing I'm trying to get to with that is that it turns out that legal solicitors and conveyancers, they do this too. And it's much worse when they do it, because firstly you're paying them a lot of money, and secondly because it's a really nerve-wracking process when they don't. Which is all my roundabout way of saying that not much progress has happened, because I've been in the process of moving house. And that's been very much a real life takes over sort of thing. I agreed to get this house in March. Tomorrow's the 1st of September and I'm still here in the familiar room. Thankfully, hopefully not for too much longer, but I'm recording this vlog now as just a plan to get this out while it's here. And yeah, at every day on that process has been nerve-wracking, some more than others, but potentially you could lose, you know, the biggest purchase you're ever going to make at any point. No warning, and it's just been really horrible. Yeah, so, not as much progress has been made on albums as I'd hoped. I know that's always the thing we say, but yeah, in this instance it's just trying to find any kind of piece to keep going has been quite a struggle sometimes. So there have been some angry songs written. Most of the time the days have been get really stressed with everything, chase everyone I can, get really annoyed how they're not doing their jobs, and then just try and play video games to maintain some semblance of not having a heart attack or a stroke or one of those other things. You might notice I'm recording this in multiple parts. I don't know how long I'm going to be speaking for, so that seems the best option for it. I think the only music we've talked about, like as new creations since the release of our album in 2018, was for the big group sing-along project that we did over lockdowns in 2020 and 2021, which was a track from To Insanity and Beyond, but rearranged into a completely new style. Doing it for a marching band, and I think we even put up a 10-second excerpt of that on one of the previous blogs. And we talked alongside that about doing like half an album's worth of alternative arrangements for some of our songs. As you might expect, when a band then says, we've got 3 new albums, yeah, that's one of them. That half album, we decided actually we've got so many ideas we really like that we want to do the whole album reimagined. I think that's probably the best word for it. It doesn't mean we're just going to do the whole thing acoustically, although some will be acoustic. It means that there'll be new arrangements, there'll be remixes, there'll be, yeah, rewrites, remixes, reimaginings. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Reimagined is a fairly pretentious term, but I think it probably sums up the scope of what's going on here. As we said, that'll be released in cells of 3 tracks, around 3 tracks, that sort of thing. And progress-wise, cell 1, which is what we're really focusing on, is looking pretty good. 2 tracks, one of which is Beyond Salvation, are basically there, like the tracks are all there. The third has been recorded, we're in the process of editing it. Editing audio is the thing I hate most, second only to editing video, which is even worse. And that's the reason that it's me that talks to the camera on this blog and not all 6 of us, because editing that together, no, not doing it. Anyway, I digress. I even wrote this down. So, yes, we have 4 of the tracks from that album that are basically being recorded and are looking pretty good. As I say, the third one on that first cell is not there yet. The recording's done, I'm confident the result's there, it just needs editing. 3 others, which may make up cell 2 or may not, depending on how it all looks at the time. We've got initial demos recorded for. That's like normally our process of, we write the song and then we record a basic demo of it to see how it looks. Yeah, we've got initial demos there, so they're looking pretty good. Yeah, quite excited about some of the things there. And then the other few tracks, we've got some ideas, but not much more than that. We're confident that we're going to be able to get them working in the styles that we've come up with there. There are 1 or 2 that we're really not so sure about, and we're tossing around various ideas, but at the moment that's how that's looking. One of the things that we were interested in trying with this, and I don't know if I should say this because it might get people's hopes up, it might get people's hopes down, I don't know, it might just never come to pass, I don't know. We were interested in potentially working with different singers. That's one of the reasons that we did the big group sing-along for Beyond Salvation. And, if you're reimagining a song and trying to make it sound not like it originally did, obviously one of the biggest things you can do is change the singer. But it is a matter of finding the right alternative singer and persuading them to be involved with it. And also being able to record them. And as I say, I'm moving house, I don't know if I'm going to be in a state to record vocals for quite a while yet, which is, again, doing this now because I don't know how noisy it's going to be in a new location. But potentially there might be a range of singers there. It might be me on some of the tracks, it might be me on all of them, don't yet know. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I've got some ideas, I don't know where they're going for now. We'll probably try some things out. Anytime there's a new singer, I imagine I'm going to be recording a guide vocal anyway, just to give them an impression of, the sort of thing we're after, what the tune is and so on. It might be that we just think actually the guide vocal's fine, it might be that we record them and it sounds completely terrible. And obviously we'll never tell anyone who they are, but we might think actually I prefer the guide vocal. Yeah, so we'll see how that works out. That is the middle of the 3 albums. So that is album 2 of those 3, or album 3 overall. Next. As I say, the reimagined album is the second of the 3, but I mention it first as it's the one that has been brought up, albeit in a slightly different format on sort of this channel before, so you might have some idea about it. The first of the 3, or our second album overall, is much more of a wild card. I don't think people are really going to see this coming, and so we're not going to say too much about it. We're going to keep the cards fairly close to the chest for this one. It is entirely done with a full demo. We have the demo of the whole album from start to finish, that's all there, so we've got a really good picture of how the finished thing is going to sound, and we're really happy with how it is at the moment. So yeah, that's going to be exciting, and I think also it's going to take the least effort to take from demo to finished thing, and get all done, which is, you know, a good thing that it's going to be the first of the three. In theory. In practice, that full demo of that album was done back in 2012, and it's basically sat on a shelf ever since. I think a lot of creative projects across a lot of creative mediums have kind of a lifespan for enthusiasm. Not enthusiasm in terms of liking the work, but enthusiasm for having the passion to keep going with it, to get up every day and, you know, work towards making it better. This is one reason why not many bands have 10-year album production cycles. And I have to say, across those 10 years, at no point did I hate the songs or even, you know, any less than love them. I was never tired of working on them, and I always thought they were great songs, and I was always really happy with them and really proud of how the latest bit of production work was making them sound, which I thought was a really good sign. But that was with sort of continual work on it. This one, as I say, has sat on a shelf for all that time and been just untouched, sort of, because for 6 of those intervening years we were working on Insanity. So the kind of the fire to get it done is very much vanished. And we know that academically, actually, there isn't that much that needs to be done with it. We just need to do that thing and then that thing. And yeah, I had a go at doing that thing last week, or like the first bit of it, and that went really well. And then I went to do the second bit, and I found that it didn't quite line up with the first bit. And I think maybe I just need to go away for a few days, retreat in the countryside or something, and get that first bit done, and then we'll be able to do that bit, and that'll all be okay. This will hopefully sound fairly mysterious for now, but will make a bit more sense when sort of the finished thing comes along. But yeah, obviously there's going to be a bit of a mental gear shift to reignite that enthusiasm for it, but I think it won't take much. So that's a little bit on the back burner, but probably the furthest through of the three. You know, we don't have complete demos for the other two, so yeah, that's good. And as I say, I don't think it'll actually take too much to then get it there. And that brings us neatly to the last of the three, or album 4 overall, which is going to be a covers album. Yeah. That may inspire some feelings or some thoughts, quite possibly of dread. There are big problems with doing covers albums, so let's acknowledge them right now, because we think we're doing it in a way that's going to avoid most of those problems. Firstly, they just tend to be a bit rubbish. Yeah, how many bands can you name where their covers album is the best thing they put out? Now sometimes a band's one cover is the best thing they've done, but most of the time that just says they don't write good songs of their own. You know, these are two different things, a band that sounds good and a band that writes well. And lots of bands have one and not the other. So yeah, those bands really benefit from covers. We don't want to get lumped in with those bands, so they're a risky thing to do. They're a tricky thing to pull off full stop, you know. Can a cover ever really outdo the original, and do you achieve that by making it faithful to the original, or trying to capture the spirit of it, or trying to come up with something completely new and different? In my book, most of the covers that are really great, that may be better than the original, generally try to do something different. But of course, do they work because they're trading on the strength of the original, or do they work because I don't know, they work in their own right? Yeah, there's a lot that can be said about it. I'm sure there's a lot that has been said about it. We hope that won't be a problem here. The other problem with covers, twice in my life I've been at local gigs watching bands that I didn't really know, and I thought, I like them, but I can't quite pin down what genre this is, or you know, what sort of scene they just sound-wise belong with or who the influences are, and then halfway through the set they pulled out a cover, and straight away you think, oh, yeah, they're just those guys, but with slightly rewritten songs. And from then on, it's, I don't know, the mystery goes away, the magic goes away, that sort of thing, and it just sounds a lot less unique, a lot less special in a way, and becomes much easier to pigeonhole. And again, not that bands should have to rely on being unpigeonholable, and not that our influences are buried that deep. I'm sure most people can probably guess our favourite bands. So we probably don't need to worry too much about that. But again, we hope we found a way around that. Time will tell. And so for this third album, the first 2 tracks, which would definitely be the first 2 on the first cell, have their tracks recorded but not their vocals. The third one from that first cell is has a full. It's been arranged, and the demo for it has been recorded with me singing the demo, that sort of thing. So learning how to sing it and all that sort of thing. In fact, 9 other tracks have been arranged and have initial demos put together. 1 or 2 of them might be tweaked because the demos don't quite work the way we thought they would, but certainly enough for the first 2 cells. Basically, the songs themselves, writing-wise, ready to go. I know I said it's a cover album, so of course the songs are already written. Hopefully that'll become a bit more apparent. That's why I've been using the term arrangement. Our arrangement of them has been written and ready to go. So yeah, I don't know how far off that's going to be, and I think sort of that's sonically that's going to be much more of a type. I think there's going to be some variety, but less variety than on the reimagined album. And I think it's going to be me and maybe one other singer, but not on every song. So yeah, we'll see how all that pans out. That's probably the one we're most excited about. I think it began as it was going to be 6 tracks, and then it became 9, and then it became 12, and at the moment we're thinking, oh, it'll be 18, maybe 20. We'll see how that works out. Again, we might be here till 2040 if we're talking about 18 tracks. But I suppose the beauty of the release cell system is that we can do that, and you'll just have 5 years between each cell. Production-wise, we're undecided on sort of personnel on all 3 of the albums. I think with album 1 and album 3, it makes sense to use the same producer for the whole lot, but album 2, or 3 overall, the reimagined one, I think the songs are going to be so wildly different that actually almost using a different producer for each track would be a fun thing to do, and might benefit from it and get the best results. It's been so long since the last blog that I don't quite remember what I've said before, so I apologise if I am just telling you things that you already know or that I have said before, but Pyre tends to be quite insular in terms of the people. It's just us working on it on our own for a very, very long time. And we like that. We think there are definite strengths to it, or we wouldn't do it. But at the same time, it's nice to do some variety from time to time, get the chance to work with others. And that's where, another thing of sort of, it might be fun to get so-and-so singing on this reimagined track or that one. But equally, yeah, an opportunity to work with different producers. Probably work out a lot more expensive. Normally paying per track gets a lot more than, costs a lot more than a whole album deal, but yeah. Maybe we can mix a really expensive producer for this track and a really cheap producer for this one. I don't know. I probably shouldn't tell them that. Yeah, we'll see how all that works out. We haven't made any decisions on that front yet, and we probably won't be at that stage for a little while. So that's all okay. One thing we can say about these upcoming albums is that they really won't involve very much out and out metal. Obviously, we are a metal band. We live and breathe metal, and we would do that all day, every day, if we could. But recording-wise, it's difficult, and it takes a long time. There's a Motorhead t-shirt I've seen people wearing here and there, and on the back it says, "Everything louder than everything else." And that perfectly encapsulates, in 5 words, metal's sonic identity. If you think of a band like Nickelback, who our second guitarist is a big fan of, Nickelback have to fill stadiums or arenas with their sound, and money is no object to achieving that. So, you know, they have the biggest bass drums that you've ever heard on a record. You know, they sound like this great big meaty thunk, and then you've got a snare drum that punches through, just, you know, takes this huge space in the mix, like you're being, you know, kicked by a giant sort of thing. You know, they are gigantic drum sounds. And then the guitars, this enormous wall of just sonic impact coming at you. And it's got this great big low end, impact is the word, but it's also got this huge, sizzling, thick distortion, but it's also really clear and you can hear exactly what's going on. Yeah, just absolutely titanic guitars. And then, if you think of the archetypal metal singers, you know, Bruce Dickinson and Rob Halford and say Tarja Turunen and let's go with someone screaming, Alexi Laiho, that sort of thing. These are not small, quiet voices. They're pretty big. They're pretty big, and you know, if you listen to their solo stuff, a lot of them, Alexi Laiho is a bad example for that, but you know, if you listen to some of Bruce's solo stuff, his voice takes up the whole track. Not in every song, obviously, but you know, in something like Tears of the Dragon, just his voice, it is enormous. And you realise that sort of he's just this one little bit of Maiden, but here on a solo track, wow, his voice is gigantic. So yeah, you're putting that on top of giant guitars and giant drums. Oh, and in our case, a symphony orchestra. Just, you know, 100 people that struggle to all fit into that sonic frequency on their own, let alone when you've got a metal band trying to take over everything. The one concession that metal normally makes is bass guitar, which often loses all its low end and also often gets pushed quite quiet, and we don't want to do that. We really like bass guitar. We want this big, great big, full rounded low end, and yeah, we want more of that. So we don't even have that space to turn to. I'm using rock and metal slightly interchangeably there. I'm not suggesting Nickelback are a metal band. Metal follows many of the same rules as modern rock in that respect. It's just faster and busier and louder, and yeah. So yeah, metal has similar problems in most of those respects. As a result, there's not going to be too much metal on this album, on these albums. In fact, there's going to be basically none. The objective really has been, what can we do that doesn't involve big distorted guitars and big live drum kits and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's going to be some... And that's been really fun to experiment with, finding out what works and what doesn't work, and just generally trying a lot of things we wouldn't normally get to do. So yeah, that's all sounded really good. It's really exciting working on it. I guess I should probably say something sort of to alleviate any potential fears when I say there isn't much metal on it. We're a metal band and we think it sounds good, and we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't. And given that that's the direction that our tastes lie in, hopefully that will give people some measure of confidence, at least while waiting for it, and then you can hear it for yourself and decide. So yeah, that's how it's all looking. Progress hasn't been as quick as hoped, and is likely to go even slower for a little while going forwards, while sort of moving house, getting settled in, getting everything set up so that we can continue with it, all that sort of thing. I don't want to make any promises or give any dates of what will be ready by when, but it's going as fast as I think it realistically can at the moment, and hopefully we'll continue to do so in the new location. So yeah, next vlog will be in a new room, whenever that may be. Right, until then, I'll leave you to it. Bye.